I'm Derrick Ruiz with eXp Realty. I've been working here in the West Side and Greater Los Angeles for 40 years. And today I'm going to walk you through how SCEP inspections actually work in 2026. Most landlords assume they have no choice when they receive one of those dreaded SCEP inspections in the mail or posted on their apartment building. So basically, systematic code enforcement inspections through LAHD periodically inspect your building every 3 to 4 years. The reason they say is to make sure that tenants have a safe and habitable place to reside, and that the landlord is not acting as a slumlord. And so it's their mission to make sure that the housing stock is habitable. But this leaves a lot of room for interpretation. I've seen some egregious things happen when somebody lets a SCEP inspector into their building. So again, they inspect the exterior and the interior. They're looking for things like peeling paint, missing cabinet doors, worn out rugs, no window screens, making sure the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors are installed and functioning. But they're also looking for unpermitted additions or things in your building, such as garage conversions or remodels done without the proper permits. That's one of the worst things that they find on a lot of buildings. Even though you might have had the building for 50 years and you bought it that way, in 2025, 2026, all of a sudden the SCEP inspector comes and goes, oh, that doesn't look like it has a permit. And then you're in LAHD hell dealing with contractors and getting permits and trying to get that addition or whatever permitted. I've seen things like breezeways, laundry rooms, things like that people get cited for. So again, landlords think they have no choice when it comes to SCEP inspections, but you actually do have some good options. Buried in that SCEP inspection notice, it says you may refuse entry without a warrant. The question is, what happens if you do refuse the inspection? Let me give you a little history of SCEP inspections and how the city changed the municipal code to allow landlords to legally refuse these SCEP inspections. Back in 2017, there was a class action lawsuit filed by tenants and landlords against the city for illegal search and seizures, which was a Fourth Amendment violation. Let me show you an article from the LA Times in 2017 that kind of highlighted what was going on with this class action lawsuit. So let me share my screen here. Okay, from the LA Times in 2017, LA landlords fight unconstitutional housing inspections. Landlords sued LA in a federal class action. So, landlords sued, and they're claiming a rental ordinance gives city officials and employees law enforcement-like powers that violate protections against unlawful searches and seizures. They claim the City of LA Housing Code is unconstitutional under the Fourth Amendment and allows city employees to seize evidence and make arrests. The inspection ordinance authorizes wholesale searches by law enforcement officers of every rental residence in the city without showing probable cause. The landlords cite the 2015 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, City of LA versus Patel, which affirmed a Ninth Circuit ruling that city officials could not force hotels to keep records of guest registries for 90 days. So some landlords and tenants banded together to file this class action lawsuit. So what the lawsuit was asking was to stop SCEP inspections and to stop the SCEP yearly fees that landlords have to pay for their RSO apartment buildings. So right in the middle of the lawsuit, the city changed the municipal ordinance, and they allowed landlords to refuse SCEP inspections legally. Now, there was a caveat to that in that they, if the city wanted to, they could get an administrative warrant from an administrative judge to get into your building anyways, even if you've legally refused. The thing is, they never taught anybody, or they never told any landlords how to actually refuse inspections. They didn't give any instructions or anything like that. Back to the lawsuit. I happen to be friends with one of the junior attorneys on the class action lawsuit. And we were talking about this. She's the one that told me how it went down, and that the city changed the municipal ordinance in order to allow landlords to legally refuse SCEP inspections. So when I heard this, I did some searching on Google. I didn't find any information on this, but she gave me some more insider information about how everything works. So I thought to myself, this is really important information for landlords to know. I've been through the SCEP inspection process. Fortunately, nothing happened. My building's in good shape. But I know that a lot of people were getting caught up in these inspections and were getting punished and going through some really tough situations with the city. So I decided to start notifying landlords about their options. I started sending out postcards to landlords in the west side here in Los Angeles, and I got a lot of people that were responding and calling me and saying, Derrick, I got a SCEP inspection. What do I do? So I just wanted to let them know that they have options. Now, the way that I did it, because back in the day, I got an inspection, I think it was 2017 or 2018. So what I did is I wrote a letter to the inspector, and I said that I'm, exercising my legal right to refuse these inspections. And then the inspector came back to me and he goes, well, you need to get some letters from your tenants as well. It's not just you. So I went ahead and I composed letters for my tenants saying that they wanted to legally refuse inspections as well. They signed them and dated them, and I sent all of the letters from my tenants and myself to the SCEP inspector, and lo and behold, he went away. He canceled the inspection. He never showed up. So the important lesson there is that your tenants also have to sign refusal letters. Now, some landlords go, oh, my tenants are not going to sign that. Well, in my experience, 95% of tenants do not want a strange SCEP inspector they don't know rummaging around their building, their units. They don't want to be opening up their units to somebody to come in and do these inspections. Now, that is usually for landlords that take good care of their buildings, okay? So if you're a slumlord and you're not taking care of your building, those tenants are going to want an inspection. So make sure you take care of your building. So anyways, I've started showing landlords how I go about refusing inspections. And they've copied my letters. They've had their tenants sign these letters, and they've initiated their own refusal process with the city. And I would say 85% of the time, the city just goes away and it's not a problem. I've had many, many landlord clients and friends legally refuse these inspections. Now, 15 to 20% of the time, the city comes back with an administrative warrant. And they say, no, we're going to get into your building. We have a warrant now. So there's a solution for that, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but it involves getting your tenants involved in the refusal process. So I don't want to go into too much detail. I want to focus just on the initial refusal for this video. And again, I've seen so many landlords, especially senior citizen landlords, or people that don't speak English that well that own buildings, get caught up in the worst inspection hell because they're elderly. Maybe they haven't been on top of repairs as much. Maybe they don't have a good relationship with their tenants, and their tenants kind of, don't want to back them on the refusing the inspection process. But I have a handful of clients right now that are in REAP that have multiple code violations filed against them. And it's very, very difficult if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have the resources, or you're, in your 80s and you got to find a contractor, you got to get permits, you got to get the money together. I've seen a lot of people damaged by these damn SCEP inspections. In fact, I have a property listed right now in Venice. They've been in REAP for 6 years fighting with the city. The seller is elderly. His cognitive skills are not that good. He doesn't have anybody to really help him. But he did find a family member to kind of take the reins of it. But they just threw in the towel and they said, Derrick, we don't want to deal with this anymore. Let's just sell the building. So I have it listed. It's in REAP. We can't get a loan on the property. It has to be a cash deal. So these are the kind of egregious things that the LA Housing Department puts landlords through, especially elderly landlords. It really puts some people in a really tough situation. So If you own an RSO building in Los Angeles and you get one of those dreaded inspection notices, and you want to know what your options are, give me a call. I'll read the inspection notice. I've read tons of them. I'll give you some real world advice if you do want to refuse the inspection. Some landlords I know, they say, fine, I don't care if they come in. My building is tip top. My tenants and I have a great relationship. I take care of repairs. Their smoke detectors are fine. Fine, just let them in. But for those other landlords that really don't want an intrusive SCEP inspection, again, if you get a inspection notice, call me right away. Email me a copy of the inspection notice, and I'll give you my real world advice on how I would handle that situation. You do have options. There are ways to refuse inspections. So like I said, if you get a notice, go ahead and give me a call. We can have a short conversation, and I'll give you your options. So again, I just wanted to record this video to let you guys know that there are ways to mitigate these SCEP inspections. My advice is never let them in your building. I will never let a SCEP inspector into my building personally because I just don't want the hassle. And even though my building's permitted, I have no unpermitted stuff. You know, there's a lot of gray areas with stuff that was constructed in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s that maybe weren't to code. And again, I've seen so many horror stories. I've got a client right now that bought a building 30, 40 years ago, and it's gone through SCEP inspections 3 or 4 times, no problem. But this year, all of a sudden, the inspector brings up this one, I don't know exactly what it is, but he goes, oh, this is not permitted, you got to get permits. So now she's dealing with architects and contractors and getting permits, and it's just a nightmare. So again, you get an inspection notice, give me a call, we'll go over options. I've been through this a lot. I've shown a lot of people how I successfully refuse inspections, and I'm sure this can help you as well. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. Derrick Ruiz, eXp Realty here in the West Side in Greater Los Angeles. Give me a call if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Of course, I got to put a legal disclaimer on this information. So this information presented in this video is based on general experience and publicly available information and should not be relied on as legal advice. The creator makes no representations or warranties regarding accuracy or applicability to any specific property or situation. Viewers are strongly encouraged to seek independent legal counsel before taking any actions related to SCEP inspections or compliance matters.